this is the fight guy, and UFC 328 is going to explode tomorrow night. Undefeated monster Khamzat Chimaev is taking on former middleweight champion Sean Strickland, who's 8-4 as an underdog. It's a grudge match nobody wants to miss. The co-main event, Joshua Van and Tatsuro Terra, is going to be a flyweight title banger. This card's stacked from top to bottom, and I'm going to break down every single fight. I'm going to give you detailed notes for every one of these matchups. Here's the card right in front of you. Here are my notes for every single one of the fights, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna break every fight down, starting with this first one on the prelims, and we'll wrap up with the main event at the top. You already know what it is. Usually I try to get these pretty quick, but I'm going to take my time with this. I'm going to make sure I tell you guys everything that I know about every fighter on this card, who I think's going to win, and how. And without wasting any more time, we're going to dive right into this card. I am so stoked for this card. I can't wait. First fight on the prelims is a flyweight banger. You don't want to miss this. Clayton Carpenter's taking on Jose Ocha. I believe it's going to be Jose's fourth fight in the UFC. He's 1-2 so far, all against formidable opponents. It's not like he's 1-2 against some trash cans. He's 1-2 with his two losses being to Luke Kavanagh, I believe, on his UFC debut. And fuck, who's the other guy Jose lost to? Can't think off the top of my head, but his only win is against Cody Durden, and that should tell you something. It was Cody Durden's middle of his sloop. Cody just won a short notice fight like 2 weeks ago to get back in the win column, but before that, you guys probably remember, Cody was in a dark place, and Jose Ocha did knock him out in the middle of that dark place, so I don't want to give him too much credit, but from what I have seen, Jose does have some gnarly hands. He does have crazy good striking. I do believe it could be some of the best striking on the feet in the division, but we just have to see Jose get tested against higher caliber guys to really understand how dangerous that striking can be. And I believe Clayton Carpenter is that guy to give Jose Ocha that well-needed test we all need to see. I do believe the last thing I'll say about Jose is his takedown defense is half decent, but where the biggest factor is on the feet for him, preventing the takedowns, is keeping his hands busy. If he can keep his hands busy, moving, not stay stationary, not let Clayton have any well-timed shots, not staying in one place long enough for Clayton to just dive in on a takedown. He's got to stay active. He's got to keep his hands going. Clayton Carpenter coming off of a submission loss to Jafel Filho. I got a picture of it right here if you missed it. That's what a Kimura is. He has been consistently durable in his career, despite, I think he's coming off of 2 losses. I know he might be coming off of 1 loss off the top of my head. I'm a little bit fuzzy here. What I do know about Clayton is he does have the better wrestling. He's got really good wrestling. Like, he's been training MMA wrestling since he was single digits in his life. I think he's going to struggle finding those openings like I talked about a minute ago with Jose. I think Jose is going to make it very difficult for him. I think he's going to be on the feet. I think he's going to be doing a lot of things right. But I do believe Clayton Carpenter's just got a little bit more experience. He's also been in there with some good guys in his short UFC career so far. And I've been impressed with both of these guys. I've just been a little bit more impressed with Clayton Carpenter. That might be shocking to hear, but that's what I've seen. He's impressed me. Jose Ocha, it's tough to gauge. He has had some tough competition, but the only win in the UFC being against Cody Durden. We need to see a little bit more. I'm going to go with Clayton Carpenter to win this fight. I think he'll edge out a decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if this ended any other way, even if Jose won. So we'll move on to the next fight. This is another great fight, a middleweight fight. Basinger Susakairov is taking on Desjordan Santos. Basinger is Khamzat's main training partner. If you watch any of the UFC Embedded or the UFC Countdown videos leading up to this card, you've probably seen Susakairov's face a few times in Khamzat's training camp. Potential fraud. I'm going to go ahead and get it out there now. Potential fraud alert. Maybe I put something at the top of the screen. Basinger Susakairov is a potential fraud. I thought he looked sloppy against Eric McConaughey. Sure, he did. You know, a lot of people were giving him credit this week, but I had to add some context. Some people might not be familiar with. But Basinger Susakairov, he took a short notice fight in his UFC debut. If you guys remember, after his Dana White Contender Series performance in August, he wanted to do anything he could to get on his brother's card, which was Dricus and Khamzat 4 days after Dana White Contender Series that week. which his wish came true. He got a easy scrub. I forgot who he beat. Eric Nolan. He beat Eric Nolan, whose only fight in the UFC was that fight. It was his debut as well. So it was a build-up fight. It was to make Susakairov look good. It was to fill in the boots of a potential star. But I still have questions that need to be answered. Basinger is just not that good when the fight doesn't end in a knockout. When the fight doesn't end in a knockout, he'll edge out a decision where he'll get outstruck. Um, am I thinking of the right fight? I might be thinking of a different fighter. Anyways, the point still stands. Susakairov is a little bit sus when the fight goes on. When he's not able to knock out his opponent in the first or second round, you don't really know what to base it off of. 10 of his 11 wins are all finishes, 9 of them being knockouts in the first or second round, I believe. It's not a lot to really base Susakairov off of if he's fighting, an established fighter with experience who may be a veteran, sort of like the Jordan Santos. Jordan Santos has never been finished. Allegedly, he was robbed against Ozzy Diaz. I was at that card, UFC 313 in Vegas. I picked Ozzy to win. Ozzy got the nod, so I wasn't, too keen on arguing against it. I might have had some money on that fight. But anyways, the Jordan Santos, I thought he won that fight, and I picked against him. So I would not be surprised if we saw an upset here. The Jordan Santos has never been finished. His only losses, which are 2, are via decision. And Basinger Susakairov doesn't win a lot of fights via decision. This could be the upset of the card. You heard it here first. Nobody else is talking about this. But I'm going to go with Susakairov to win. Just because I think he could potentially be a fraud doesn't mean I do believe he stinks. I think he's got the skills, he's got the physical attributes, he's got the reach advantage, he's a few years younger, he's got the stars in his camp. Everything's riding for him. He just needs to deliver, and you're just betting on if he can deliver and will deliver, which this is going to be a tough fight for him to deliver on, but I'm going to go with him anyways. Basinger Susakairov, I'm going to have to knock out Jordan Santos. Finish him for the first time. We'll see. Love to be wrong about that. The guy looks like a creepy fucking vampire. We'll move on to the next fight, a featherweight fight. Pat Sabatini is taking on William Gomez. This fight, would not be surprised if I got the pick wrong, but I'm going with Pat Sabatini here. It's sort of a no-brainer for me. I think his wrestling's dominant, some of the most dominant in the division, to be honest. His grappling, anyways. He was knocked out twice in the first round. I think that might be his only losses. I think he might have a decision loss as well. But I do know he has been knocked out twice in the first round against powerful strikers with good grappling. And William Gomez isn't a powerful striker with good grappling. That being said, somebody with no finishes and 20 fights in the UFC can get a finish, and it wouldn't surprise me. It's the nature of the sport. But William Gomez, we just haven't seen a lot of power. It's more of a technical, edge you out on the feet, decision kind of fighter. And Pat Sabatini has been on a little bit of a run recently. This is going to be his ultimate test to validify that run, but he can't be sloppy. His takedowns have to be calculated. He can't just be diving for these in open space relentlessly. He's going to get caught. It doesn't matter who it is. But as long as he's got good wrestling fundamentals, he enters his takedowns logically, either against the cage or from the clinch in the open. I think Pat Sabatini will walk through William Gomez. I'm going to go with him to win a decision here, 29-28. Wouldn't be that shocked if we saw Pat Sabatini submit William Gomez, but I'm going to go with Pat to win this. As long as he's not a retard, he should be able to get William Gomez down with ease, and then the fight's his from there. So, not much to break down in that one, but we'll move on to this next fight where I have plenty to say. Marco Tulio's taking on Roman Kopylov. You guys remember when MMA Twitter said Roman Kopylov was going to be the future? Give a moment of silence for those dumbasses that have been preaching that on Twitter. But hey, I've been trying to sell Chase Hooper t-shirts for 2 years, so how do I look? Marco Tulio's coming back from his first loss in 3 UFC fights, which was a knockout loss to Chris Duncan. A fight where I think he was having his way for a little bit there, but Chris Duncan fights, you know how they end. They're scrappy. It's a skill Chris Duncan has, is he'll drag you into the deep waters with him and take you out. Marco fights for the knockout win. That's how he fights, to knock out or to get knocked out. And those are the kind of fighters that fans fucking like. And Roman Kopylov isn't that kind of fighter. I'm sure Roman's a nice guy. This is not personal. This is professional. With the, excuse of some of the words that I might use from time to time. I'm sure Roman's a nice guy. It's not all his fault, but he sucks. I want Roman Kopylov project to be over already, so I'm rooting for Marco Tulio, and you should too. Um, he's gonna knock out this Russian chud, and we'll leave it at that. Even if he doesn't, oh, he's probably gonna lose. Probably gonna lose a boring decision, and people are gonna hate Roman even more. So we're going with Marco Tulio to knock out this Russian piece of trash. And we'll move on to the first fight in the regular prelims. We got Jim fucking Miller taking on Jared Gordon. Everybody loves him, respect Jim Miller. Everybody loves him, respects Jim Miller. I got to get that out of the way now. He's 42 years old. It makes this fight hard to watch, but he's too old and worn to fight actual serious UFC talent. Impressively durable for his age, being 42, but his last few fights, he just gets the fucking shit beat out of him. Even if he wins that fight via submission, it doesn't look good. He always wears damage in his fights, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this fight. People always sleep on Jared Gordon. I don't know why. Maybe I know a little bit why, because he doesn't have a lot of impressive wins on his schedule, but he's had a lot of impressive performances that he didn't quite come out on top of, and I don't see a 42-year-old Jim Miller giving him a whole lot of problems. I think Jared can take shots on the feet, and he counters well. I think he needs to use leg kicks as a path of victory here, set up the strikes on the feet. You don't need to wrestle with Jim Miller at all. Just outstrike him. This could be a boring decision. I don't think it'll be boring because Jim's got a lot of scar tissue and he cuts easy, so we're going to get blood in the first round almost certainly. But I'm going to go with Jared Gordon. I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Miller gets the upset. I didn't finish this note down here at the bottom, but his son is battling cancer. There's a real heartfelt, feel-good story to be talked about here with Jim Miller. I'm not going to root against the guy. You shouldn't root against the guy, but I am going to use my brain. I'm going to pick Jared Gordon to win this fight. Rooting for Jim Miller. We'll move on to the next fight. This is a badass fight in the lightweight division. Grant Dawson's taking on Jesus Rebecki. Which these fighters are kind of there. It's an interesting fight. It's an interesting matchmaking fight because Grant Dawson's got a questionable chin. Dominant wrestling, good ground control, but his stand-up is just always has been and always will be questionable. I'm sorry. He should be able to take Rebecki down pretty easily, and I think he should be able to cut him while he's down. Rebecki's got a lot of scar tissue in his face. He bleeds. He cuts easy. On top of that, Rebecki has 4 back-to-back wars. Look at his last fights. All wearing a ton of damage. Rebecki's entire face looking like a red moon. But he's very tough, very durable, has better hands, has the knockout power. I think he's got all the tools he needs here to finish Grant Dawson in the first round with a knockout. But that's a lot of stars that have to line up right. I'm going to go with Grant Dawson to win because it's easier to land a takedown than it is to land a punch flush in the chin if you're Grant Dawson. I'm going to go Grant Dawson to edge out a decision here. I think it's going to be another war, you could say, for Rebecki in the terms of he's going to take a lot of damage from ground and pound. But I think he'll have his moments on the feet. Might even knock Grant Dawson out. You never know. So that's going to be a great fight. Going with Grant Dawson to win a decision. We'll move on to the main event of the prelims. This is the main event of the prelims. It might not be in the main event spot, but it should be. This should be in the main event. Fuck it. Joel Alvarez is taking on Yaroslav Amosov. If you don't remember who that is, he's a little bit newer in the UFC, newer face in the UFC, but definitely not new to the sport. This guy's a killer. He submitted Neil Magny with one of the craziest anaconda choke setups I remember seeing in recent UFC history. A lot of jiu-jitsu gyms, including my own, are practicing this anaconda submission. So shout out Yaroslav. We'll start with you first. Crazy slick submissions coming out of this guy. I'm not sure submitting Neil Magny, even though it was a badass submission, man. Like, I've practiced this submission. He taught me this submission. I watched it. I was like, I got to learn this submission. I learned it. Even with that being said, I'm not sure submitting Neil Magny tells me what I need to know about you being able to handle the younger, tougher guys at the top of the division, like Yoel Alvarez. Obviously had a killer career in Bellator, only lost one fight there near the end of his career, and he looks just as good as he's ever been with the one fight in the UFC that I have to go off of. But we're in store for a potential fight of the night. Joel Alvarez has looked amazing at welterweight since his Arman Sarukian knockout loss, and in lightweight, He's got an energetic style, high stakes matchup. This is a badass fight. I'm going to go with Joel Alvarez. I think he's got more weapons all around, but Yaroslav Amosov is not to be slept on. Definitely don't want to touch this guy in the grappling department. Both these guys are submission artists, so if it does hit the canvas, God forbid, we are in store for some amazing grappling exchanges. I'm excited for this fight. I'm going to go with Joel Alvarez to win via knockout. I think he's got enough weapons in his toolbox to get this done. He's finished 22 of 23 of his wins. Almost every single one of his fights he's finished, and 17 of them have come via submission. So this guy's got everything he needs to get you out of there in beautiful fashion, and I think we might see just that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get a decision. I hope Yaroslav wins a decision. But this is the sport that we all love. I don't even need to get into it that much more. You guys know what it is. We move on. Is this the last fight on the prelims? It is. Ateba Gauchier's taking on Ozzy Diaz. Ozzy Diaz, this is a middleweight fight. This is the fight I mentioned earlier with the Jordan Santos being robbed in Vegas. It was a close fight. All right, it was a close fight. I had money on Ozzy Diaz. It was a close fight. Ozzy Diaz won that fight. In all seriousness, though, we'll start with Ozzy Diaz. His most recent win against Jordan Santos, like I mentioned, he's kind of a half-decent chin. He's kind of a mid-fighter all around. With a half-decent chin, I still think he's probably going to get knocked out in the very first round, right off the get-go. He needs to break up Ateba's striking rhythm. You can't let him get a pace going. Has to make him feel uncomfortable, and you got to stay busy with the jab. Keep shit in his face. Keep stuff going on here. Don't let Ateba get any motion going on, because it only takes one shot to put you out, especially if you're Ozzy Diaz against Ateba. But potentially, I will say, I'll make an argument for Ozzy Diaz here. Ozzy Diaz can win this fight. You're probably wondering, how can he win this fight? He's literally fighting a god. This guy is like the second coming of what's his name? Francis Ngannou. I don't know why it took me so long to say that, but this is like the middleweight Francis Ngannou. Ateba Gauchier puts people to sleep every time he touches them, pretty much. 8 of his 10 wins are via knockout. He's been a decision once or twice. I can't remember. I think it was twice. He's been in a decision a few times. He does not look that good in decisions. He does not look that good. This is the fight I was thinking about earlier, but he looked terrible against a half-decent opponent in January. I forgot the Russian's name that he fought, but the Russian outstruck him almost 2-1, and Ateba still won that fight. Ateba does not look good when the fight goes the distance. He does not look good the longer the fight goes on. Ozzy Diaz has experience making the fights go on, has experience dragging dangerous fighters into deep waters and somehow stealing a decision from them. Could Ozzy Diaz do it again? He could, but I'm going to go with the Ateba Gauchier to win this fight. I think he's going to knock Ozzy Diaz out. I would be a little surprised, but I can't say I did not expect it at all if Ozzy Diaz does not survive the first round, make the second round interesting, and bring this to a decision. We'll move on to the first fight on the main card. I'm stoked for this fight. 17 minutes in, I'm going to speed this up a little bit if I can. King Green's taking on Jeremy Stephens. This is a treat for the fans. Both of these guys have taken a lot of damage in their careers. Both of these guys are UFC veterans. Legends in a lot of fans' eyes, including mine maybe. I might even say mini legend. Little mini legends here. All right, not full-size legends, but Snickers minis, Twix minis, mini legends here. I think this fight stylistically favors King Green. We're going to get boxing 100%, which both guys want. No takedown attempts. We're probably not going to see any grappling clinches at all. It's going to be mostly boxing. Barely, maybe even any kicks. It's all going to be hands. And I think this fight favors King Green. I think he's faster. I think he's more active in the UFC. I think he's looked better against younger talent recently. Think Zell Huber. Think Lance Gibson, who just had that flashy knockout over Chase Hooper, unfortunately. Jeremy Stephens has taken too much damage, man. I'd like to see him win. I'd like to see either guy win. This is a win-win, lose-lose fight, but King Green's going to knock Jeremy Stephens out. One thing I can guarantee you is this fight is going to be a bloodfest, and most of it's probably going to be Jeremy Stephens, even if he wins. Welterweight fight, second fight on the main card. Sean Brady's taking on Joaquin Buckley, baby. Obviously, Sean Brady's the more talented grappler here. Yes, he just got chin-checked by the flamboyant Ecuadorian Michael Morales. He's basically a white Islam Makhachev with a couple disabilities. Sean Brady's got very good grappling credentials. Don't fucking sleep on him. This fight decides if Brady belongs in the top 10, if his name belongs to be mentioned next to your Ian Garys, next to your Michael Moraleses, next to your Pratises. Sure, he doesn't knock people out stylistically. He's a different fighter, but does he belong in that bucket with those big names? Does he have those skills in the grappling department? Sure. Does it equate to the potential that these other fighters have in the striking? This answers a lot of questions for Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley. If Buckley can be a serious contender, if he can't grapple, then he can't be a serious contender. And we're going to find out here if he can grapple. Hopefully, it goes on long enough where we can find out. Hopefully, Brady doesn't get just chinned in 10 seconds. He can get chinned 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the fight, but let's see Joaquin Buckley struggle with some takedowns or flawlessly shrug him off. Buckley had no answers for the Usman grappling in their fight. No answers for the shots, for the takedown attempts, for the clinches against the cage. Didn't know what to do. Obviously, he's a natural striker at heart. His instincts would be better off at kickboxing, I believe. He's got really good instincts. Really good. Okay, the guy's showing me this side. I'm gonna hit him low on the other side. He's got really good instincts. Oh, this guy's grabbing my foot. I'm gonna jump up in the air, spin around, and knock him out with my other leg that I'm standing on. Really good instincts. Really good grappling. You know what I mean. Questions to be answered in the grappling still. There's questions to be answered. I think he was working with Usman a little bit after the fight, so maybe Usman helped him a bit. But at the end of the day, you could work on your grappling a little bit. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, maybe if not more, it just takes natural, like, that's why the best wrestlers are young. They start wrestling when they're young. You don't learn wrestling in your 20s or 30s. It's very difficult. Those natural instincts, those tendencies, automatically fighting the hands. You could be in your sleep. If you go behind a wrestler when they're sleeping and you lock your hands around a wrestler when they're asleep, without even waking up, they're going to be fighting the hands. They're going to be breaking the grip, trying to stand up. It's a natural instinct for a wrestler. You can't train these natural instincts and natural strikers that have no inkling for wrestling. So I got questions for Buckley. I hope we get some answers. Buckley could just knock Brady out right off the get-go, and then we lose out pretty much. We lose out. Even if you're a Buckley fan, we lose out because we want to see if Buckley's gotten better in this department. And this matchmaking should answer that question. I'm going to go with Sean Brady to win a decision or even submit Buckley here. He's coming off of a loss. This is a make or break for him in his career. I think he's got a lot to prove. Hometown crowd behind his back. He's got to get Buckley out of there to really solidify his name up there at the top. Next fight, heavyweight fight. Alexander Volkov's taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta. Hard to deny the run Acosta's been on. We got Derek Lewis here, Shamil Gaziev, which hasn't aged well after last week, and Ante Daija. All knockouts within 2 months. Two of these were both in November, I believe, and one was in January. If Volkov's chin can hold up this first round, this is a big test for Waldo. Waldo's walked through these 3 guys, notable guys, so quick. This win could possibly launch him to a title. But at the same time, he's walked through these guys so fast, we didn't really get to see any kind of progression from Waldo. We saw, yeah, this motherfucker can put anybody to sleep with his hands. Great. Is there other progression? What the other area of his game? Is it rising? I know it's heavyweight, and really all you need is a good fucking punch in heavyweight. But are these other aspects of your game rising? Because if not, a guy like Volkov, Alexander Volkov, is going to make you fucking squeal. Volkov has had a better all-around game, I believe. He's fought high-level veterans for years in the UFC. He needs to be cautious shooting takedowns in the open. He needs to be smart. Volkov's a smart guy. You can't shoot takedowns in the open. You got to go against the fence. You got to clinch him in the open and then set it up. Don't just dive at the legs here. Waldo's going to fucking kill you. He should keep Waldo down pretty easily once he does take him down. I don't see Waldo really getting up. Maybe he'll try to get up the first few times that Volkov takes him down, but Volkov is so good on top. Once he's able to kind of defeat Waldo's hope mentally of him getting up, I think it's an easy lay on top, ground and pound, threaten a submission, and you win the round. So I see Volkov winning a decision here, 30-27, maybe 29-28. It's closer than I think. Maybe Waldo rocks him or something. We'll move on to the co-main event. I'm stoked. This is a badass fight. This is like the youngest title fight I remember. I don't remember. We got a 24-year-old, 26-year-old. Joshua Vance taking on Tatsuro Tara in his very first title defense at flyweight. We'll start with Josh. Say what you will. Josh won the belt on an unfortunate freak injury. It was a fluke. You could if you're a casual and you watch Josh talk about that and you genuinely believe that Josh Van made Pantoja break his arm, like the way that he kicked him down, he was trying to do that, you're smoking fentanyl off a fucking toilet seat in a rest stop in Texas. Joshua Van won that on a fluke, and it's a real bummer because Pantoja has the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the division, and I was really looking forward to watching Joshua Van figure out how to deal with that. I think he can hold his own on the feet with Pantoja. Pantoja's a scrappy fucking striker as well, but I really wanted to see the Jiu-Jitsu exchanges and how Josh would handle that. Well, we might have the next best thing here. Tatsuro Terra has made Brandon Moreno his bitch in December. He needs to be able to take Josh down at will whenever he wants. If he's struggling for takedowns, it's going to be a very long fucking night for the Japanese prospect. I am worried about his cardio keeping up with Van's cardio, especially, like I said, if he's struggling with those takedowns and he's unable to take Van down at will when he wants, he's probably going to lose this fight. He does have the second best jiu-jitsu in the division, in my opinion, after Pantoja. So, with that being said, hopefully we get to see some of those moments that we missed out on in that Pantoja title fight. Terra's got a good chance here of making Joshua Van vulnerable in many different positions. But I'm going to go with Joshua Van to win this fight. Nobody's picking Joshua Van. I thought I thought it would be 50-50 if I'm being honest. It's like 75-25. Nobody's on Joshua Van. Everybody's doubting him. Everybody's on Tatsuro Terra, and I get it. That performance against Brandon Moreno in December was very impressive. You can't take anything away from that. But Terra, I don't know. If Terra is unable to make his grappling work, he's definitely going to pay a bill. And I just don't know if he can afford to pay that bill. Joshua Van is debilitizing. Is that the word? Is that how you say it? Debilitizing. Joshua Van will fuck you up. He rips the body. He mixes his shots well. He goes to the head. He'll stun you. He'll rock your body. It's Justin Timberlake song. Sorry, I did not mean for that. Joshua Van. I'm going to go with Josh Van. I think he's got dirtier hands. I think he's got better boxing, obviously. He mixes his targets up well. If Terra fails his first few takedown attempts, he's going to be in a tough spot because not only is he going to be demoralized, like he's not able to actually take Van down when he wants, Van is going to punish him every time he goes to take him down. So if you're not ready to collect punishment for a takedown you're not certain that you're going to get, it's going to be a long night for you. I'm going to go with Joshua Van. I think he's going to knock Terra out in the third or fourth round. And with that being said, I don't know what this note is here, but we're going to ignore that. Khamzat Chimaev's taking on Sean Strickland for middleweight gold. It's going to be Khamzat Chimaev's first title defense against a former champion, Sean Strickland, former training partners at one point. There's a lot of beef here. There's history here. This is supposedly one of the biggest rivalries in the sport of all time, Dana says. Top 3. Maybe. We'll see after tomorrow. Start with Khamzat Chimaev here. Khamzat kicked Sean Strickland in the balls at the face-offs. That's a bad look for me. In a press conference where, shockingly enough, I thought Khamzat got the best of Sean Strickland. Now, kicking Sean in the balls at the face-offs, that's a bad look. That doesn't tell me that you're not scared. It tells me the opposite. It tells me you are scared. You're trying to jeopardize this fight. You got your teammate Arman Sarukian in your camp, in your corner. He's got a little bit of a history sabotaging main events. Wasn't a fan of that. But, however, you got to give him his flowers. He made Dricus du Plessis look like a doormat for 25 minutes straight. Same move. Pretty much walked through everybody he's fought in the UFC except for Gilbert Burns, which is why my logic for this fight is going to be different. Obviously, Khamzat needs consistent takedowns. He does not want to strike with Sean Strickland longer than 2 minutes per round, or he's going to be in some serious fucking trouble. I think he's easy to time. The disadvantage with Khamzat, what you need to be worried about if you're a Khamzat fan, is his takedowns are incredibly easy to time. You know in the first 5 or 10 seconds, he is diving for the legs. You know it. I bet my life savings in the first 10 seconds, Khamzat's going to dive at Sean's legs. So it's easy to predict his takedowns. Pretty much anytime he's standing, you know he's about to shoot. I think he's going to gas out. I think Khamzat's going to gas out when he's unable to rest on top, because that's the whole thing with these good grapplers. Yeah, they're grappling. Grappling's tiring. They're grappling a lot, but they're winning the grappling exchanges. They're ending up on top. The guy on bottom's got to support their body weight while they're breathing and recovering. You're getting more tired. It's like sucking the life out of you. But if you're never getting to that position where you could rest on top and you're just constantly working and then you're almost on top and the guy slides his hip out, now you got to keep chasing him. And now you're in this fucking rat race chasing the guy. That's when you see wrestlers go down. And that's where you see wrestlers go down hard. I'm going to go with Sean Strickland to win this fight. I think we're going to see a little bit of this. I think we're going to see some knees to the body. I think maybe even a knee to the head isn't out of the picture. Sean believes there's a Muslim takeover of America, and only he can stop it by winning this fight. And how can you bet against that? Sean Strickland's average control time is 18 to 20 seconds. Nobody can keep him down. Nobody in the UFC has ever attempted a single submission against Sean Strickland. Why? Is it because they don't want to get themselves in a potential compromising position by overcommitting for a submission? I don't think so. I think it's because nobody can get to the position necessary to throw in a legitimate threatening submission attempt. And with that being said, if Khamzat is unable to keep Sean down to rest, and he's going to have to keep shooting 20, 30 fucking takedowns, he's going to get tired. He's going to catch jab, 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 knee every time he gets up after those failed takedowns. And Sean Strickland is going to take over this fight the longer it goes on. I would not be surprised if we saw some of these knees like we did against Fluffy. Sean just can't stop moving when he's on the ground, which he never does. That's literally the secret to being on bottom. Don't stop moving. Keep moving. Just keep moving. You're a purple belt. The guy's a black belt trying to smother you. Keep moving. Keep moving. Grabbing the hands. Moving my hips. Keep my shoulders moving. Breaking. Trying to get my opponent's hips lower than mine. Grabbing his head. Dragging it. Like, you just got to keep moving. I think Sean Strickland's going to do that well. He's 8-4 as an underdog. I've picked the last couple Sean Strickland fights right. I did. And I'm going to pick this one right as well. He's 8-4 as an underdog. He's about to beat 9-4 as an underdog. Sean Strickland is going to knock out Khamzat Chimaev in the 4th round here at UFC 328. That's my prediction. Those are my predictions for the entire card, every fight on the card. Please, please, before you go, leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, if you made it this far. Drop a comment if you disagree with anything that I said here. But these are my handwritten notes, my best predictions for every fight on UFC 328 tomorrow. It's a crazy card. No women's fights, shout out. I'm excited for it. You should be too. I'll have a cheap shots video after the card when I get back in town in a few days, and we'll take it from there. Thank you so much for watching. This is The Fight Guy, and Sean Strickland's going to be the middleweight champion tomorrow.